Luna, who is God, the one who watches over us, and you can see the moon, and the cherub, which are the Nazca alien mummies. Luna, Diana, Hathor, the moon goddess, and the dog, which is dog star Sirius, and that's where these little beings are said to come from. But there's Lucifer with the light, being seen by God, the universe. Oops. More Luna, and this is from the Hermetics. All this stuff is from Hermetics, and as you can see, there's Luna again. You see the moons. She's actually the god. Luna with the lobster, which is to grow and then to shed, to be rebirthed. That's Luna. There's Luna again holding the Saturn, which is Satan, in control of Satan. And then Luna with the moon. She's the moon goddess. And there's the lobster again. This is all Hermetics. This was all in Hermetics. See, she's above the clouds. Oops. Pretty wild, huh? Hathor, the moon goddess, with, that's not a child. It's a cherub. A cherub handing them a gift. Just like the Freemasons with the tools that they've been handed. But many people think that, or say that, oh, it's Mary with baby Jesus, and that's not what's going on here. Oh, here's Lucifer, the warrior of God, fighting for the truth, and Luna with Sirius B, the cherubs, and you see they're everywhere. It's just endless evidence that these people knew what was going on a long time ago, and they were putting it all out there, waiting for the right time to, reveal the truth. And so there's A10. This is a mural in the the Boston Library. And there's A10 with the hands, the rays of hands, which symbolizes the oneness, one. And then there's Moloch, who's been on Earth. That's why A10 is outside of the bull being on Earth. And then there's shadow beings here in the darkness who've been ruling over us. But saw this mural and I was like, this is great. This is really great stuff. So, oops, on the other side of the A10 and Moloch, who has a third eye open. You see that? Enlightened. But on the other side is a shadow of Hathor, the lady, who is also the moon god. Luna on the other side of Moloch. And there's, I don't know, I think that might be Lucifer fighting a snake. Yes, Lucifer is a warrior, not Satan. You've been lied to. The Catholic Church has lied to people about that. Also on the mural, you can see that this side is the one with the shadow beings and the rays from A10. And there's Moloch over here. And then on this side, there's the face of Luna, God, who is God. And then on this side, there is the good side fighting the evil side, Isis and Osiris, Moloch and Saturn, Draco. And they've been fighting each other over humanity, and humanity's been waiting to be freed. But it's pretty impressive. See, these people all knew the secret. They all knew the big secret about what was going on. And this whole thing was an extraterrestrial, fifth-dimensional chess game, like hundreds of years ago, to draw all this stuff out. But you see one side and the other side, and they've been playing against each other, but these positions are, the God positions are interchangeable. Over time, power changes over time, and, different extraterrestrials come in and they take over, but the chess game is the good and the evil and of Earth that they have been watching over the game. They call it an opera. It's another name for it. So Israel is not evil, but the Zionists, who say they are Jews but are not, have been feeding Moloch children, and until they were all busted, which changed protection of Israel. And this is why Trump is protecting Israel right now, and why all those people walked out on what's his name out of the UN, the Prime Minister of Israel. They all walked out on him because they're all Satan worshipers. They're all evil. But this is because in the Bible it emphasized God's promise to protect Israel, stating that those who bless Israel will be blessed, while those who curse it will be cursed. Genesis 12-1-3. So that's why Trump and the Prime Minister of Israel are working together to protect Israel, because that's God's promise. See? The Nazca alien mummy connection, I connected to a picture. There's 3 fingers. It's the same species. And then this one was found, EBE 1992, Edninger, Sweden, with the 3 fingers. And it's the same species. But I had a few species connections. This is Phil Schneider with a weapon. I'm pretty sure this is 0-point energy. But it was Phil Schneider who said that he saw an aliens down in a cavern while digging a deep underground military base, and he saw one of the aliens rub its chest over his chest, and a blue beam came out and opened him up like a fish. It burnt him alive. And to see the evidence of these Nazca alien mummies with the same golden pieces in their hands and their chest, it's probably weapons, especially with this evidence that they've been cutting off their hands. Why did they cut off their hands? To render their weapons inoperable. This is when I attacked NASA with all the evidence and wound up getting a result, having NASA come out and state that tiny aliens may have visited us and we just didn't know, which then got Silvano Columbano excommunicated from NASA. They kicked him out because he came out and told the truth. But I did that. See, I was attacking them November 30th, 2018. And then a few days after, I started maybe like 2 weeks before the 4th. And then they were forced to come out because I was just fucking attacking them. So everybody could see it. And I attacked them for a good 2 years. Almost every day. Thousands of tweets. And they started to delete my my profiles, my Twitter accounts. Yeah, they were very pissed off about that. They're evil people, you know, and I tried to get my information into the whole science thing, which is all bullshit. It's all controlled and all that, with evidence, and they denied me. They kept rejecting my transcript, although it is evidence that God are extraterrestrials. I was just wrong about the Nazca alien mummies being God. I think that they are actually the angels of God, the cherubs, the ones who work here for God. And I showed all these people this information, but they refused to acknowledge me. And the Palladian pyramids, I found this was in the movie Orion Conspiracy, where they released real images and real pictures in the short 19 minutes of film that they put out in 2008, saying that they were going to have a fake alien invasion and they were going to blame it all on Orion and all this and that and the other thing. And but I saw this picture in the movie, and I was like, holy shit. It had the exact measurements of geological location on it. So I looked them up, and I was like, oh, there it is. So although I was living like right over here, well, not right over there, but down the road from here, in Connecticut. But I just never had the money to take a boat out there and scuba gear and do all that shit to get down and see for sure that they were down in that location. But I'm pretty sure they are. I'm pretty sure they are at the Palladian pyramids. Another group of pyramids on the river of the Amazon River. The Tree of Life. The aliens were putting the pineal gland into the Tree of Life. Very, very significant. It's evidence that they created us, that they built us by design. And that's why the Catholic Church is all about the pineal gland or the pine cone, which is the connecting biological technology that connects to the spiritual realm, and why the caduceus with the snakes going after it, because they drink the ambrosia or adrenochrome, which gets them high, a spiritual high. And that's why they're all about that kind of stuff. And then there's beings coming down and with branches of the Tree of Life and putting them into the Tree of Life to add to, I think, their own genetics to the Tree of Life. This image of a Naztec native person dressing up as Kukulkan, planting seeds from the bag, allowed me to figure out what the bags were actually. They're actually these beings who were seeding the world with plants, animals, and human beings. They were seeding us. They were seeding this world with things that they brought. So that's what's in the bag. Seeds. Seeds are in the bag. They're not oxygen tanks. But that's what's in the bag. They're seeds, bags of seeds. That's why they all have different animals and all that stuff on them. Moloch, the evil Moloch, who's been doing evil and eating human beings. And then there's the awakened state of mind with the Dorje, which is open. And I think it's Gilgamesh who's been fighting, or Indira, who's been fighting the serpent, the evil. The fourth black pyramid that was found in Egypt. There were 3 pyramids, but there was also a 4th pyramid that was sitting there, and this explorer, Frederick Norden, saw it, wrote about it, and there was another explorer who saw it as well. But it was actually Moloch's craft, the tetrahedron that was above the Pentagon and the Kremlin, that was parked right next to the 3 pyramids a long time ago. But they had no idea what they were looking at. There was no openings. Okay, so the Trantiloid, the DNA harvesters, you can see that it has an insect-like body with insect-like feet, and it's obviously being arrested or taken prisoner. These are tablets from the Mayan culture found in Mexico, and you can see that these balls that they're holding are actually quantum temporal time viewing devices. And I know that because they're also holographic projections of images. As you can see, the being down here is holding the ball, and out of the ball, light is coming out of it, producing this image. And there are many, many examples of these beings holding crystal balls. What they were using them for were for navigating through space and time. Because it will show them the future, and allow them to adjust if they see an accident or a collision with some other object or something else. They will see it in the crystal ball and be able to react to it to change the future while they're traveling through space-time instantly. So it's very important to have these kinds of this kind of technology, and there are many, many other examples than this. There are other images that I've seen that have these beings in UFOs flying around looking into the crystal ball. So I know for sure that they are navigational devices to look into the future because they travel through space and time instantly. So I'm going to try to get through this a little quicker because there's something like 600 pages. So I'm going to really try to get through. I believe this is a communication device. I see it speaking into it and the being understanding it with the hand up. The Mayan death call sounds the death whistle. It sounds like one of the gray aliens found by Dr. Jonathan Reed in the woods, and I know that being was real because there was another of the similar species found, and he had video recording of it screaming, and it sounds eerily similar to the death whistle. And because I know that this reptilian group of beings were in that area, taking over from the Gigi and the Anunnaki. They were at war with them. So it would really make sense that the Mayan culture were using the same sounding vocal to put fear into their enemies' hearts. Most of these pictures are self-explanatory. These, are just examples that people have put together. This, this one, this one. These are from the internet. Somebody, made the connection, but they're good connections. So I included it in the book. Um, this little figure in the Nazca Desert relates to the figure that the uh, priests wear, the Catholic priests wear. Picture an image of Jesus drawn using a magic wand. Well, with all the evidence that I have, it would make sense that he was using a magic wand. A magic is both good and evil. There's white magic and there's black magic. It's a common misunderstanding that all magic is evil. It's a deception technique by the rulers of this world who want to confuse and demonize good. But there's Thrope with the same magic wand. It's a magic wand. He's putting a either a pineal gland into the tree of life with the magic wand. So I also know that Thrope was in charge of the or Throth was in charge of judgment of souls, either by weighing the heart and the feather to determine whether or not they go to heaven, hell, or reincarnate. This is a Mayan tablet. It's 4 feet by 3 feet. These stone tablets, they are masterfully crafted, and insane. It's insane to think that some Mexican on the side of the road is selling these things as tchotchkeites for 20 pesos on the side of the road. It's not. And especially with all the evidence of the aliens, um, and it being a 4 foot by 3 foot stone carving, it's real. And there are hundreds of these things pouring out of Mexico. They drew what they saw. And the Gigi were building the pyramids. And not only that, but you have a being here, a Gigi, with a tool. And from Lou Elizondo, I found out that you can cut through stone like butter at a certain negative degree temperature. I don't know which degree it is. I know that it only goes down to 0 Kelvin, which is like negative 273, something like that. I don't know at which point a cold, how cold it has to get, but a cold will cut through rock like butter. And that's probably how they shape these things. Another example of the Gigi carrying stone, building the pyramids. The Gigi sacrificing a human being. And when I saw this image, I recognized the posture. And I was like, hey, that's the same posture as the man sitting in the rocket ship that Eric von Däniken claimed was seen on King Pakal's coffin lid.
And I saw this image and I'm like, hey, I know what that is. I've seen that image before, the same posture. And these beings are sacrificing him on the altar. And I realized, oh man, it's not a here, this is the image. It's not a rocket ship. It's a sacrificial knife, a Mayan sacrificial knife held by Kukulkan, who is actually Draco, the Draco reptilian, the feathered serpent. He works with Quetzalcoatl, who is Moloch or Lameshtude, the child eater. But this is Kukulkan holding the sacrificial knife. Saturn, Satan, Draco, the Draco reptilian. These are all names. The devil are all names for uh, Kukulkan. Holding a sacrificial knife, not a rocket ship, with the man in the same posture as this guy. And that's how I knew. I saw the posture and I was like, oh my God, it's a sacrifice. Being sacrificed with blood pouring out of him on a sacrificial altar. This is the real uh, meaning of uh, the King Pakal's coffin lid. And the coffin lid is about something like 12 to 16 feet long, made of stone. That's how big this thing is on his coffin. But that's what it is. And the truth is that all those ancient alien people, they're all part of the deep state reptilian side. So Eric von Daniken, Zachariah Stitchin, all of the ancient alien people, they've all been paid to lie to people to try to keep us imprisoned on this prison planet that we live on, because they've been using us as a food source, a slave source, and other things. And they've been sacrificing people forever. It's been going on forever. And not only have the evil side been sacrificing, but I have evidence that the good side was also sacrificing people to eat, to drink the blood. An image of a nuclear bomb. I wouldn't be surprised, considering we're dealing with extraterrestrials and time travel. So where did they get the idea for the nuclear bomb? It was probably gifted to them. The Palladian, and why the Freemasons follow the Palladians. The Palladians are good. The war that's been going on for forever. It's been going on since before time, and time is infinite. It's beginningless and endless, and there's always conflict between good and evil. Oh, it's both, because we are both, but they fight each other. And it's a temporal time war. So these evil side will show up to harvest everybody, to harvest humanity, because that's what Saturn does. Why Saturn holds the sickle is because they send the comet, which means disaster in Latin, meaning evil star. And that's what they call it. The comet would show up, and all these societies would just disappear in overnight. And this is also why they painted red X's on the door, so they wouldn't be harvested by the aliens when they showed up. Now, when they showed up, the good side in the orbs would show up and fight them. And that's what's been going on. It's a temporal time war. So the evil side will show up to harvest everybody. The good side intervenes at certain times. And that's what's been going on with these, with what they've been seeing. So, and the story's the same throughout all history. There are always many, many gods. And then all of a sudden, for example, the Egyptian gods, right? There are many different gods. And then all of a sudden, King Akhenaten shows up with the Nazca alien mummies, the Anunnaki, and declares that there's one true God, Aten. And then after his reign, he's replaced by these other gods come back. Well, this is because it's been a war back and forth over humanity. And they reached a point where they made a compromise because they knew both sides, good and evil, knew the future events. So they were like, okay, God was like, okay, you can have humanity for X amount of time until they wake up, uh, because they follow spiritual laws. Until they wake up in the public and they find out, what's actually going on, they can prove it. Then and they've been calling it night first, meaning keeping humanity completely in the dark while the satanic side has most of the control over it, and the Freemasons can only sit back and watch until interference happens in the game, the chess game between good and evil. That's why they have the chessboard, white and black chessboard. Uh, it's good and evil, and it's not. In reality, um, evil exists, and because evil exists, you can't make it not exist. You can't. Yeah, I mean, you can fight it all you like, but it will always exist. And the only way you can accept it is to reconcile with evil. That's why there's contracts. That's why there's deals made between God and the devil night first. That's why there's deals made. See, nobody knew about what was actually going on here until I got my hands into it and started going through the evidence, going, okay, what's going on here? But this is what's going on. And this happens throughout all of these cultures, Aztec, Mayan, Greek. It's always the same group of extraterrestrials who've been ruling over us in secret. And another thing is that these Egyptian gods are all with animal heads, and I'm pretty sure it's their species of origin. And a big thing with this whole Egyptian thing is that when King Akhenaten showed up, they drew the Anunnaki um, completely in their likeness, which really says a lot to me. Why would they draw them exactly as they look when they were drawing the other beings differently? Not exactly as they look. It said a lot. It said a lot. But yeah, that's what's been going on. They've been friends. They've been working together. The secret societies are friends. And us, we've been warring over each other and, fighting each other and the slaves. But that's what's going on. Moses, when Moses led the Jews out of Egypt, was helped by God, the Anunnaki, chose Moses and helped Moses lead the Jews out of Egypt, the chosen people, and then was given Israel. But the same thing happened with Christ. When Christ died, they probably went in the cave and took some kind of temporal device and brought Jesus's body back 3 days to where he was alive, and then beamed him up and took him into the future. Yeah, that's what's going on here, okay? It's yes, God is real, but the truth is that God are extraterrestrial beings with advanced knowledge, advanced technology, and great spiritual understanding, and work in the fifth density all around us. So images, stone tablets, again, another 4 foot by 3 foot stone tablet. These things are massive. To think that, some poor Mexican guy is spending hours and days carving this in stone is just insane. So why were they drawing Jesus as an alien? And again, Jesus is an alien, but you can see behind here there is the depiction of good being chased by evil, angels and demons in like a boat. It's the same picture as the Christ crucifixion with the two like comet looking ships flying behind. It's good and evil fighting each other. But Jesus, they said Jesus died for the sins, but our sins, but Jesus was murdered for telling the truth. That the golden rule that see yourself in others, to teach the truth. Did Jesus look like an alien? I don't know. I mean, these things were buried under dirt. Where did they get this idea from? So, as you can see, this is what I'm referring to, these two comets. Let's see if there's more of them. Yeah, here it is. You see the two comets, good and evil, chasing each other, fighting, good and evil. All of these religious arts all have extraterrestrial vehicles in them. Why? Well, this is all a extraterrestrial time travelers. They're time travelers. The Rose of Sirius, and that's where I'm pretty sure the Anunnaki come from or reside or whatever, but Sirius B. Good versus evil. Moloch. So, St. John, um, these cherubs, the cherubs are the Nazca alien mummies. They are the Anunnaki. They are God's angels. Okay, Luna's angels who work here for God, who watches over us during night first, while Saturn rules over us in secret. But the cherubs helped St. John write Revelation. And I figured that out when the star alignment happened. The woman, Virgo, with child Jupiter in her womb, wearing a crown of 12 with three planets, Leo and three planets making the crown, with the moon at her feet and the sun on her back. September 23rd, 2017, when I saw that star alignment, I instantly knew they had time travel. I knew they had time travel. So I thought, how could a man who lived 1500 years ago know a 7,000-year-old star alignment was going to happen at these times of revelation where the truth was revealed and all hell was about to break loose? And I knew they must have helped him, but I found this a few months after I realized that, and yep, there they are. There are the Nazca alien mummies, the little beings. They're the Anunnaki. You see how he's standing on the eagle, the wings. It means travel. Anybody who stands on wings or standing on something, it means traveling. And they brought him into the future and showed him a possible future because time travel is time adjustments are happening all the time around us, and we're not in control of that, but both sides are messing with the timeline to try to win. But yeah, that's the Nazca alien mummies, and here they are with showing Ben Franklin electricity. There's always a man or a little being with Ben Franklin, who was a Freemason, uh, gifting electricity to humanity. And there they are back there with a free energy device. Just like the compass, the square, all that stuff. That's Rendlesham Forest. Like the UFO incident that happened in 1980 when a time traveler went back to December of 1980 to drop off information. He went back and then jumped either the night or 2 nights before in order to lose the time police because the time police showed up. Well, he jumped 2 days before and then gave the information to two military guys and then took off. Well, a few nights later, a whole group of extraterrestrials showed up looking for the time traveler because he was violating the timeline by changing it. That's why they showed up to try to stop him. And they followed his time path. But what they didn't realize is that he jumped a day, 2 days before. When he got to where he was going, he jumped to lose them, to ditch the time, please. But that's why they worship all these tools. They're gifts from the Anunnaki, from God. That's why the Freemasons worship their tools. The Freemasons are good. The Illuminati are evil. A big misunderstanding. Um, these are the Tree of Life, which is actually the Tree of Life is actually the Vetroverse, the container of the multiverse. The multiverse is infinite. And it's very mind-boggling for me when they showed me this stuff in the fifth density, how something infinite like the multiverse can exist inside of something else. But they showed me it looked exactly like the Tree of Life, and they called it the Vetroverse. And it was a three-dimensional model of the Tree of Life floating in like a pink orange space, and sitting right beside it was the anti-Vetroverse. It looked almost identical, but not the same. And they told me that it was a prison for evil. And when I looked into the anti-Vetroverse, it looked like a tornado with beings being thrown about trying to get out. So it's very interesting that the Tree of Life is depicted in many things like the art museum, and this is Paris. The golden orb, yeah, it's the Anunnaki. This is in the Vatican, United Nations, Ground Zero. There's the pineal gland, the pine cone. It's the Anunnaki's craft, and it's they have solo ships like this, solo, like one person pods. Um, uh, uh, some um, some emit light, and sometimes they don't. But they're usually balls of light. And but not only are they solo pods, but they created human beings to mine gold for their atmosphere surrounding Naibru, which is very intelligent because they not only fix their atmosphere by creating a Dyson sphere around their world, but this allowed them to take their world with their entire species anywhere through time and space instantly to avoid being conquered by the Draco reptilian group. Very, very intelligent. Moloch's craft, the tetrahedron shaped ship that showed up over the Kremlin in 2009, and again in the Pentagon after it was said that the military, there was a revolt in the military and they invaded Area 51, the CIA Delta Orion. Delta means D in Greek, and Delta is Mintaka, which is where allegedly the evil aliens come from. So to think that Delta Orion, why they call them that, it would make sense. So it was said that they kicked out that reptilian beings were coming out of the desert, and there was an unprecedented amount of activity at Area 51 because the military invaded, took over from the CIA because the CIA has been running this whole thing out there, and are part of this satanic side. So Moloch showed up over the Pentagon to find out, and this told me everything. It told me that that information was true, and that 12 days before, and them showing up, told me that why would they risk showing up like that? It told me that they were probably pissed off because they stopped the invasion in 2018. And then there's Saturn's cube. This is why the Muslims walk around Saturn's cube in Mecca. It's actually Satan's vehicle, and God travels around in a gigantic golden orb. And as you can see, it's the return of Christ coming, standing on the orb like the eagle with St. John, and the people in the fifth density watching over us, the ascended masters, including Christ, with a sword, which is a tempered sword, which is a weapon, and the flower, the Easter flower, which means renewal. And then there is judgment happening, evil and good, and the good is going up to heaven. Revelation. And it all makes sense because it's all time travel. But and planned. So everything is planned. All right, I'm gonna kind of get through. Oh, this is a picture I took while I was protesting in Washington, D.C. And I was driving down the highway and I looked over and I was like, oh my God. The behind the Pentagon is the Air Force Memorial that aligns to Orion's belt at 33 degrees in the night sky. I was like, motherfucker. I couldn't believe my eyes when I saw this. So I pulled over and I took a picture of it. Satan worship, Orion. See, it sits behind the Pentagon, the river, the Arlington's right over here, and then the Potomac River, and then the Capitol building. The sun comes up this way, and on the other side, it would align to Orion's belt at 33 degrees. At some point, somewhere in Washington, D.C., they have a spot where they meet where they could see it at 33 degrees. I don't know where that is. I don't know if it's the Capitol building or the White House. I don't know. But there has to be a place where they meet early in the morning to see it align. It also aligns with the Mayan pyramids, where the sun rises on one side, but behind the door, walking up to the sacrificial pyramid. Behind that is Orion at the west at 33 degrees. This is from the movie The Fountain. The Fountain, 33 degrees. That's why they worship 33 degrees. Okay. Yeah, the Pentagon, the Air Force Memorial, the pentagram. It's all this ancient alien stuff. Satanic, and good. The reason why there are flags around the center of Antarctica is because the black suns exist um, in the hole down there. Yep, I know it bursts a lot of people's bubbles with the idea that the Earth is flat, but from what I've researched myself, I don't believe that. I think that the Earth is round, and I think that is a hole in Antarctica, and why they keep Antarctica off limits. But at some point, we're going to find out what the fuck is actually going on around here. But for right now, I there's a lot. I see rainbows that arch. Why are they arching? Because the planet and the sun is curved. All the other planets out there are curved. I mean, round. The fact that the moon only uh, shows one side of itself tells me that the moon was actually placed there. It was set in motion, and I'm pretty sure that everything out there in space is set in motion. Well, yes, it's all holographic. Yes, emptiness exists in everything except nothing by definition does not exist. And since nothing cannot exist, what is left is existence. So it's all of exist. We are all of existence. There's no separation, even with the idea of death, which is a human uh, idea or concept. But you can see their patches. They got the circle right where the circle is, and I have images in the book here with real images of that circle. I can see with a stillness of my mind. I can see the clouds rotating around the circle because we are all of existence. We are nature. We're part of nature. And when you look at something like a planet or a star, a snapshot, just a still picture, you can actually see it moving if you have the right eyes, the peace of mind, stillness. So the black suns, and that's why they worship the black suns. And this is why in Genesis, they were talking about the black sun existing at the bottom of the flat earth. And the black sun would rise up through and absorb negative energy from the top of the flat earth, which it makes sense. It's not a black rock, it's the black suns, which is an evil satanic alien group who've been living here um, for the past 6,000 years and even longer, at war with the other group, the Anunnaki. Admiral Byrd. So after World War II, Admiral Byrd was sent down, took the entire Pacific Fleet in Operation High Jump, got down to Antarctica to flush out the Nazi UFOs, got into a war with them, and excuse me, unmarked UFOs, which were the Draco reptilian. Got his ass kicked, went back to America, walked around for 2 weeks telling everybody what was going on, and then was stopped, was shut up. And then he was told the truth. And I knew he was told the truth because of the poem he wrote. Now, the long night, like night first, begins to approach. At that time, it was part of the deal. Don't tell anybody, it has to be night first. But there shall be no end. Just as long night of Antarctic ends, the brilliant sunshine of truth shall come forth again, and those who are of darkness shall fall in its light. They told him. They told him the truth of what was going on, God and the devil, and the extraterrestrials, and what was actually going on. They told him the truth. Why was Tesla drawing exact UFO designs? Well, that's because the aliens came down and showed him the ships, and he drew them. And why the FBI went into his room in New York after he died and went into his safe and took out these documents and drawings and hid them for 120 years, I think. Yeah, about that. Yeah, about that. 1940. So they hid them from the public. Primarily because it was night first, and these evil satanic rulers who've been ruling over us this whole time has had control over knowledge and technology, using humanity to gain knowledge and technology and remain in power, to then call us or kill us off. That's what's been going on here, and what we probably will go through. Now, I do hope for ascension. I do hope for a peaceful resolution to this conflict, but I have to tell you that it doesn't look good from what I've been seeing. This whole time we've been being poisoned by everything, everything, everything. Everything is fucking poison. We are in a spiritual prison ruled over by satanic aliens, and it's night first, and we have been kept from the Christ consciousness, which is ultimate realization, true self nature, the awakened state of mind, okay, which is the unconscious consciousness, or the Dharma, or the monad, or the Holy Spirit. It is part of everything, and uh, a satellite consciousness, a satellite mind, and both good and evil exist in this fifth dimensional reality, an astro traveling reality, which is why I say that good and evil exists. And to say that evil should not exist is a misunderstanding of the way things are. The way things are, evil and good both exist, and you can't tell something not to exist or even fight it seems ridiculous, and that's why they make deals and contracts like Night First, and why Satan is all about making contracts, why people sell their souls and all that. But he was drawing UFOs because he was seeing, he was looking at what they were showing him, because he made contact with them, and it was said that he was a Venerian from the planet Venus. Venusian. Okay. By all of what I've seen, it seems right. This is the Nazi railroads underground, where they've been doing all this stuff, where they have the Nazi bell, which there are many people out there that are like, oh, the bell is time travel. No, motherfucker. No. It's an anti-gravity engine. It's an engine. Okay. The recycle time on a gravity amplifier is point is 10 milliseconds. That's the recycle time of the gravity amplifier. Think of the Tesla, the TR3B, why it has three of those engines, three of those lights on the bottom of the TR3B. Yeah, this is one of the lights. Okay, that's what this is. It's not a time ship. Now, they can travel through time, yes, but it's not a time ship. It's just an engine. That's why they were testing it in this thing and it was whipping around because they didn't know that the recycling time to keep it level and steady was 10 milliseconds. Yeah, that's what you get when you go through all the evidence. You figure out what the fuck's going on around you. Yeah, that's all I did. I just gathered all the evidence and I mean, if you look at my website, TheOrionLines.com, you'll see it has everything. It has so much evidence, it's impossible for people to go through. I had the time, I had the patience, I went through everything to fully grasp what the fuck was going on here. And what was really going on here is that these elite were dumping money into Hitler in order to, after World War One, which they realized that it was great. They played both sides, the elite. They played both sides because they had been in control of the most of the system. Uh, Used Germany, I believe, as a doorstop to try to stop the spread of communist Russia into Europe, which these assholes had control over Europe and America during the First World War. And then they realized, hey, we're getting all this technology, all these weapons, all these scientists are working on stuff, well, and we're getting a lot of knowledge from this, like antibacterial soap, penicillin, these medical breakthroughs, and they're like, holy shit, this is great for business. But they were playing both sides. And then after World War One, 20 years later, Nazi Germany stands up after a world war. How? Well, these rich people dumped all their money into it. And I've seen, the arrest report of Rothschild being arrested by the Nazis to get rid of the Nazis. That's all bullshit. That was all a cover up. Okay, it was all a cover up. Um, and behind Hitler, because Hitler was actually on the good side of God's side, being used by these evil fucking people, unbeknownst to him, like the SS with Himmler worshiping the Black Suns, or being a part of the Black Suns, which is the Draco reptilian and the Orion group, because they are half reptilian from Cain. Okay, Cain was half reptilian, half human, and that's because Satan, or the Alpha Draconian, the White Draco, when the serpent interfered with Adam and Eve, tempted Eve with the fruit of knowledge. She ate the fruit, and then Satan had sex with Eve, producing Cain. And then Eve gave Adam the fruit, and then showed Adam how to have sex, producing Abel. And uh, it's very common for a woman to get pregnant with two different fathers and have twins. And that's when God kicked them out of the Garden of Eden. And she had twins, Cain and Abel. And Cain was doing vegetables and wheat, offerings to God to please God. And Abel was doing this, sacrificing animals and all this to God. Um, and then God rejected Cain over and over and over again because God was working on producing a pure human uh, species. It was a test, and Cain killed Abel and ate him, and that was the birth of Satanism. But the Canaanites are actually blood relatives to Satan himself. And that's what this all secretly is. The Zionists, yeah, they're half reptilian, actually. They're hybrids. So, while Hitler was doing all this, trying to take over, conquer, and take over, the Zionists built the Nazi death marches, the railroads, and the pathways leading to the death camps like Auschwitz here, into the shape of Orion to honor Orion. I'm pretty sure the Orion group is the elites today from an alternate timeline in the future, um, who've been sending themselves back in time to graze, who have been living here in secret, um, harvesting human beings to keep them going. And that's why this whole thing's been a big cover up and all crazy. And yep, it sounds crazy, but it's absolutely true. There's a paradox. October 1st, 2030 coming up. So, and it's a nuclear war. So it's either a nuclear war or the Matrix. And that's the decision. So what they were doing here was actually trading children adrenochrome for technology. That's how they got the technology in World War II. That's Heimlich Himmler's floor. They were worshiping the Orion group, the Black Suns, which is evil, satanic, satanic. Okay. Black Suns, night. Black Suns in the Azov Battalion, the A30B. You see the Black Suns rising over the ocean. Yeah, Moloch. It's the Orion group. And this is why Trump is, backing out of NATO, because NATO is all about Orion. They're Satan worshipers. Okay. And anybody who's been a part of them has been part of this Satan worship. This was exercise Orion, or Orion 23. This is when all of these countries got together and did practice training in France to fight Russia because of Ukraine. Because they've been harvesting people in Ukraine, doing this all satanic practice in Ukraine. That's why Russia is going after Ukraine. Okay, that's what's going on. And Iran and all those countries, because they've been worshiping Satan, like Saturn's cube. That's why they walk around it in Mecca. That's Satan's vehicle. As you can see, there's the Orion lines that they drew over Germany and Poland, the Nazi death marches leading to the Nazi death camps, in the shape of the star constellation Orion to honor Orion. And I'm pretty sure they targeted the Jews because of Moses leading the Jews out of Egypt with the help of God, who were living under the rule of Orion. This is why the Giza pyramids align to Orion's belt. Evil, evil, and why God freed them with Moses's help. But I think that 2,000 years later, they did a revenge thing. The Zionists, the Zionists against the Jews. And that's why they built this whole thing. And then again, they built the deep underground military bases identical in the shape of Orion to honor Orion again. They just took this, they flipped it upside down and inverted it and put it over the United States. Now it's not only the same shape of the star constellation Orion, but it's also the same distance, which is 300 miles across. They're identical in shape and size. But that's what they did to get the technology and power and all that. We've been being used as a slave source and a resource, and a food source and an adrenochrome source, which adrenochrome is actually the nectar of the gods. It's also known as ambrosia. Okay, they drink it and they get spiritually high. but they were trading the Draco people, the Jews, for technology until they were stopped, and then it started up again on 1954 when they made the deal with the Greys with the Granada Treaty, trading human beings for technology. And then another group of aliens showed up and said the good side, Pleiades probably, maybe somebody else from the good side showed up and said, hey, oh, you've made a really big mistake making a deal with these Greys. We'll help you get rid of the Greys, but they offered no technology, and Eisenhower or whoever in the military turned them down because they wanted the technology. And the good alien said, "You're not spiritually ready," and they left. And a year after they made the deal with the Greys, so 1955, they found out that the Greys were taking way more people than agreed upon. And they were not handing in who they were taking and keeping track of who they were taking like they were agreed to, and barely gave them any good technology to work with. And they betrayed the American people. But they had to make the deal because the Zionists, the bankers who've been in control of the whole fucking system this whole time, all over the world, was in control of America. Was in control of the military. Oh, look how defeated he looks. Okay, Peter Thiel. Yeah, he's a Nazi too, running around telling people the Antichrist is something we should be afraid of. All that shit is a inversion of the truth because evil lies. There is no Antichrist. It's a lie against Lucifer, who is actually fighting the devil. Lucifer's actually fighting the devil. Nazis flying over in 1952. This was a show of force, and I know that because of this video and the direction of the Capitol here, they flew right over the White House. I mean, they flew right over the White House, and this was um, they came up from Antarctica to force a deal. But they all knew what was coming. They all knew that this is a real fake image. They do this a lot. They show you half truths. The picture of Eisenhower was with somebody else, but a picture of a real alien. Think we're gonna get into the aliens. Oh no, here's the identical railroads in secret that they stole the American taxpayers' money uh over the past, what has it been, like 80 years, building since the 58, 54, 55, when they started working on drilling underground tunnels to lead to the railroads, the identical railroads as to the Nazi death marches. It's fantastic to me to think that nobody fucking believes what I'm telling them. Nobody believes what I found in 2018, that they've been harvesting us in trade for technology. That we're in some fucking serious shit. Nobody fucking believed it. Nobody fucking believed, even with all the evidence. Yep, that's a drawn map, but I know it's real because not only is it in the shape of Orion, but it's also the same distance. It's identical in the shape and size. And it cost, there were 131 deep underground military bases built by 1996. This is from Phil Schneider. He said that each one of these bases cost 18 billion dollars each. Well, 131 times 18 billion equals $2.3 trillion, the exact amount Rumsfeld found missing from the Pentagon on September 10th, 2001. The very next day was 9/11. Now they targeted the the trade center, the two towers were just a diversion, and they used them because they were filled with asbestos, and they couldn't exactly demolish those buildings because all of the asbestos would go into the air and people would get sick and then sue the owner of the towers, and because of cancer, causing cancer. So they used them, and they knew this was coming because they had time viewing devices. So they used them, but the real targets on 9/11 was World Trade Center 7 and the Pentagon. Why? To cover up the paper trail leading to the receipts to building the deep underground military bases in America. The 2.3 trillion missing dollars. Yeah. Yeah, I got him on that one. Yeah, I'm pretty good at this. I'm pretty good at seeing in the dark. So it's just such a shame that no one believed me. So stupid. Everybody's been brainwashed. But that's what's going on here, and that's why we're slowly getting information because, well, I had all the evidence. It was pretty much finished in 2018. I had all the evidence. You see, that's all they did. They took the Orion constellation, they put it over, and for 1940s to draw this without satellites or anything like that is pretty impressive. That's really really well done. But what they did was in the 50s, they took the Orion star constellation, they flipped it over and turned it upside down. So they inverted it and turned it upside down, and they put it right over the heart of America. And it was not only 131 deep underground military bases by 1996, but it was 61 of these bases were dedicated to the Grays, who had tubes of water and enzymes coming in, and they would shower in the enzymes to absorb nutrients because their esophagus and digestive system was in atrophied from too much cloning because they're from the future. They've been cloning themselves over and over and over again. And they have cloning technology and they have conscious transferal technology. Soul transferal, the elite do today. And they had that shit back in the 60s, 70s. But that's what they're going for. That's what they're going for. And well, they're successful in an alternate timeline because they showed up back here. But this is why they've been blowing up the deep underground military base starting in 2019 with earthquakes. And then again, it was this year, maybe a month ago, when there were more earthquakes there. So, yeah, it's just ridiculous. But that's where all the money's been going. See, they had, major boring equipment, back in the 70s, but they were doing it back in the 50s, refining it and getting better at it. The Air Force, I'm sorry, the Space Force command operations. Oh, there's ships going after Orion. That's very interesting. Why is here's NASA logo with Orion star constellation Draco and the Palladian star system. I figured that out because I can read stars. And nobody else figured that out. And still, I mean, I had this ship back in 2018. How long has that been? 7 years ago? And nobody believed me? Oh my God. Ridiculous. It's so it's a terrible shame sitting here and trying to wake people up They just don't get it. They just don't believe it. They've been poisoned and lied to. So anyway, they did the revolt. They took over Area 51 from the CIA and then created Space Force. They took Orion out of the star map. Where's Orion? Why is Orion missing? Well, that's because the evil aliens from Orion were kicked out. But they're still in league with the Alpha Draconian and the Pleiades. They say this is Polaris, but I think it might actually be Sirius B, God star, the dog star, but I'm not sure because it's still above the planet Earth, which would suggest that it is Polaris. They say it's Polaris, but I don't know. Because they took Orion out, I think that it might actually be Sirius B, but I'm not sure about that. What our spacecraft actually looks like. That's the symbol. Project Orion. Project Orion was very, very complicated. Project Orion. So, it was proposed in the 1950s as an arc, an interstellar arc. It could be large enough to host a city of 100,000 or more people. Who would be the 100,000 people? The elite. Okay, they wanted to get out of here, jump ship. And this is because they knew the future. They knew that at some point night would end and the day would be revealed to the people, and the people would find out what the fuck they were doing, trading human beings and children for technology with these satanic reptilians. And they would find out that these people, the elites, were half reptilian themselves, eating children. Okay, so they put back in the 50s, they made a whole bunch of plans. This was one of them. It didn't get, out in the public, and that's why they created the whole NASA thing. All that's all bullshit. NASA was just a cover-up operation for the public, nothing more. And they say it's something else, but it's not. They didn't need rockets. They never needed rockets. They had the anti-gravity shit in the 50s. So, but this was one of the proposals, and what would happen was they would shoot out a nuclear bomb, and it would go through a hole at the bottom of this shock absorber, and it would explode behind the ship, propelling the ship. Extremely intelligent, very, very intelligent, to push the ship through space and time. And there's other ships, you see, with the same shock absorber and shooting out a nuclear bomb and then exploding behind the ship, pushing it forward. So this was not only they called it Project Orion because that's where they've been trying to go. They've been trying to get to Orion. The elite today have been trying to get to Orion because that they know they're from an alternate future timeline. The Greys come from Orion, the P-52s. Okay, so there were other contingency plans, but it's very complicated because it's been these elite Zionist rulers who've been sitting around a round table making the plans. Okay. So what they had to do was come up with a reason why they needed to build deep underground military bases back in the 50s. So they had to lie to their friends, the other elite, the other rich, and they called it climate change. Okay, and there were proposals made to combat climate change. In reality, what climate change really means is us becoming aware of what's actually going on here. We're a slave source, we're a resource, we're ruled over by evil aliens who've been eating us, using us as a food and drug source, all and using us to gain knowledge and technology only to cull us, to kill us all off. That's been their plan. Before we rise up and realize this and rise up against them, they're going to try to kill us all off. So, and because they knew this 100 years ago, they started making plans. But they had to tell their friends, the other elite, a lie, climate change. And the first proposal there were three contingency plans. This was one of them, Project Orion, but there were three more contingency plans. Well, the first one was exploding nuclear bombs inside in the atmosphere to open the ozone layer to let CO2 gas out, carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere. Very intelligent, because they knew that everybody would be like, no, we don't want to do that, which is what happened. But they knew that, but they had to put that out there in order to suggest that, hey, we got a problem with the CO2. Uh, and they knew that no one would go along with that plan, which allowed them to introduce the second plan: build deep underground military bases. And they were using taxpayers' money, robbing the taxpayers to build these bases. And it wasn't only to build cities for them to survive Armageddon, the nuclear war that they provoked, but or will provoke in 2030, probably with the creation of the artificial superintelligence, which has to be stopped. And, well, it will proliferate into global nuclear war, which will wipe out most of humanity, 2030. So, in the 50s, they built the deep underground military, started to work on the deep underground military bases, and they built these cities to protect the elite themselves from the end. But they were also using it to house these grays, and the military was smart enough to put, bombs inside of these bases just in case they needed to kill them off. But they also had Project Joshua, which was a microwave weapon from the Germans that they got, and they also had something called Project Excalibur, which Excalibur was a very important weapon for the military, and specifically designed to kill the aliens living in the deep underground military bases, the Greys. And it was a nuclear warhead that would penetrate 1,000 feet in tufa hard packed soil like that in New Mexico in the desert, and it would penetrate all the way to get down to the deep underground military bases where they were living at to blow them up. The third contingency plan was Adam and Eve. Project Adam, Project Eve. Project Adam was getting to Mars. Project Eve was getting to the moon. And that's what's up back in the 50s. Because they knew they had quantum temporal time viewing devices like Project Orion, Project Looking Glass, the Orion Cube, the Coronavisor, crystal balls. They knew the future and were able to, counter it. But everything was named Orion. The Apollo spacecraft was named Orion. The new Orion spacecraft. It's the elite, But when they put the Orion spacecraft onto the a White House lawn, they landed it on the White House lawn, Trump, to show somebody out in the public who was aware of Orion, that they have control over it. And the F-35 Lightning, which is super stealth. Anybody want to take a stab at what that is? Super stealth? Yeah, it's invisibility. Many things like the Orion laser in the UK, process called Orion. Yeah, this is from the book Behold a Pale Horse. The government encouraged and manufactured and importation of military firearms for the criminals to use. This is intended to foster a feeling of insecurity, which would lead the American people to voluntarily disarming themselves by passing laws against firearms, using drugs and hypnosis on mental patients like MK Ultra and all that shit in a process called Orion. The CIA included the desire in these people to open fire on schoolyards and thus inflame the anti-gun lobby. Yeah, the whole CIA, Satanism, and Orion, that's what this is, okay? But this is just one little project. That's why they wanted to get rid of our guns, because they're afraid of us. The deep state. The deep state. But it's all Orion. Just some examples of technology that they've been working on. The TR6, which I have video of it flying around. It's real. But these are the anti gravity drives, like the Nazi Bell. The something like, I think it's like has to do with antimatter, but I'm not sure. Um, yeah, what is it called? It's a gravity amplifier. Um, the whole thing with uh this guy Michael Hernanda, he came across a group of people, American men working in Indonesia after the tsunami hit, and they were taking people which were in the crates to this ship, an American-made UFO. It's very large, and giving the people in the containers to them, and they were taking it and going down to Antarctica to drop them off, or the deep underground military bases. And the same thing was happening in Haiti when Hillary and all of her friends got involved with helping the children, yeah, become food. But that's what happened in Indonesia. But it's the O9G, and it's almost as big as a football field. Um, and it is made by General Dynamics. But they've been using this thing to um, traffic people. Nice, CIA, right? Hey, God bless America. All right, TR3B. The TR3B with anti-gravity or gravity amplifiers. And the deal that was made, the high fructose corn syrup in between from the Council of Foreign Relations, who is controlled, who is the World Health, no, the World Economic Forum. What's his name? Charles Schwab, and all of his friends run cover for the Council of Foreign Relations, who've been making deal because they're half reptilian themselves. They've been making deals with the reptilians from Draco and Orion, feeding us high fructose corn syrup to fatten us up in trade for technology and power. That's why they've been feeding us high fructose corn syrup, and why everybody's getting fat. It's not only to slow us down so we're more easily abductable by the alien shape-shifting reptilians, but it's because to make us produce more blood. And there's something to do with the corn syrup that they enjoy eating, that enters the bloodstream that they want to eat. Maybe it makes it nicer, tastes better, but that's why the BCDs have been going up. They've been fattening us up. Pretty cool, right? Oh, a city on the back of the moon? Yeah, there's already one there. I mean, you got ships flying all over the place, all over the moon. You have the moon facing one direction all the time, which means that it was placed there. The back side is where they enter when they come in. So, but I'm pretty sure there's a city on the back of the moon. Let's see here. This is where the Black Pyramid is. It was said that by Tom DeLonge, it was said in 2018, 2019 that they turned on the conscious suppressing Black Pyramid in Alaska. It's underground. And It's massive. It's even bigger than the Great Pyramid. It's black, and they turned it on to suppress consciousness. And that was 2018, somewhere around there. It's in the book somewhere. I have to look. Highly secretive airbase, Nevada, where the black triangles, the TR-3Bs come out of. White Horse Mountain in Nevada. That's from Lear, John Lear. Yeah, see, I got all kinds of stuff in here. All the species, all the aliens that I made sure were real after going through video evidence over and over and over again, and it's very and using my heart to ask my heart, is this true or not? And yeah, it's real. It's real, and yep, that's a real alien being. And there were actually Walmart created the identical being as a Halloween prop to fool the people. But that's a real image of an alien. But Walmart, yeah, they created a Halloween prop identical to it to be like, oh, it was just a dummy. Yeah, yeah, sure thing. The Council of 300, the Greys, the Romanak, and a video. I knew it was the same species. The Four Fingers, the Allagash abductions in 1974 with the four men who were doing night fishing, and they saw a craft and they signaled it with a flashlight, which is you should never do. Never do that. Never do that. Um, because the craft came over and grabbed them. But they said that the hands were in this way, a double. It was split in the middle of the hand, and they used tools like this. And the guy said, "Yeah, the way it grabbed my arm was so weird because it wrapped around my entire arm when it grabbed me." And well, I found pictures of and a videos, two different videos with the same hand and something that I've noticed with these extraterrestrials, they always have weird hands and weird feet. That's how I really pin these things down. And they've always have weird hands, weird feet. This was Jonathan Lear, the alien that was screaming I was talking to you about with the death whistle, and an alien that was found in China. It's nearly identical species, the same species, other than having blowholes on the top of its forehead for a nose. It's the same. The rest of it is the same makeup, the same species. I don't know if this is surgical or what. But when I found this out, I came across a picture of Obama holding a baby reptilian. And I was like, motherfucker, somebody out there knew the truth. Somebody out there, because I was the one that made this connection to go, hey, this is real. And, nobody's been paying attention to me. But when I came across this, I was like, oh my God, there it is. It's the same species. It's probably what they're half of. It's probably what they are half reptilian. And for him to be coveting it, the baby reptilian, says a lot. Obama being the whole satanic side. Pretty wild shit, right? A real gray, Stan Romanak. The images from Pucifer, which is Pussy Lucifer. It's to make fun of Lucifer. Lucifer's not a pussy. Lucifer's good. Lucifer's true of heart. But that's because you've been lied to by the satanic side who've been inverting everything to fuck us all up. So that when Lucifer shows up with the truth, everybody would hate him. Very, very intelligent. What do you expect from evil? So, the gray from Stan Romanak in whatchamacallit, Colorado Springs, Colorado. which is exactly on the map with the deep underground military bases, Delta Orion, which is Mintaka, where the evil aliens come from. So it's very interesting that these beings were running around down there. The same exact species seen in Australia. Yeah, that's because the Australian government's been over there working with them just as well. They've been living underneath Pine Gap. Coming out and fucking with people in the middle of the night. This is what they look like. Another thing from Pussifer, Pussy Lucifer, with a real drawing, and that's how I knew that this being was the actual gray. Out of all the species that I have like something like 23 at the moment. I knew that this, and they look very similar. Bald head, big eyes, very similar. But when I saw this, I knew for sure that these were the Greys. I'm pretty sure it's them from the future, an alternate timeline. Yep. Food, Tower of Babel, the UFO, sucking them up, Saturn. And then there's a black sun in there, a painting of the album cover, External Reckoning. But Marilyn Manson says in 2020, prepare never-ending astral vampires. He knew. The whole satanic side knew, or at least thought that we were going to get called. We were going to get called, Culled, called, harvested. Here's another album cover from Pussifer, and it said Invasion, prepare to be abducted. This was 2020. Except I knew that of the revolt because I was paying attention. I knew that they were taken out on December 7th, 2018, resulting in the Pentagon Pyramid showing up December 19th for half an hour over the Pentagon, resulting in um, the Russians being allowed to fly over Area 51 in March of 2019, a few months after the Pentagon Pyramid. They were allowed to fly over Area 51 for the first time ever, and this told me why. This told me that they wanted to find out if they did in fact kick out the reptilians. And then after that, there was Space Force release, a hearing, a Space Force hearing. They told some of the senators what was going on. And I know this because I knew what was going on. They've been harvesting human beings for technology. They've been eating us. And they told Blumenthal, and Blumenthal was up in the Senate going, "Oh, I think the people would be pretty alarmed if they found out what was going on." And it's very interesting because I was the only one in the public who knew for sure what the fuck was going on. And I was pretty fucking pissed. But after he said that, he acknowledged it, and I was able to go out and do protests with the human bodies in front of the Pentagon, in front of the White House, at the Capitol bill. I was able to get out and be like, "Yep, I got it right here, motherfucker. You guys been eating us? Fuck you." And now you know why they hate Lucifer. Evil, evil, evil. It's all over the fucking graves. Stan Romanek had a dream where the alien showed him how they were getting to Orion Minataka. They showed him the star constellation of Minataka and where they were coming from. They gave him the diagram of the planet, their star system, Minataka, and the planets in that star system. And I believe it because they were all over him. Oh, the same devices seen in all of these encounters. It's always the same thing. They're always doing medical examinations. That's because they're like DNA, soul, examining like doctors, basically. But there's always similar uh, things connected to the abduction stories, like the chest plate. Many have seen that. Um, Identical words from the Carrot Project. Caret project, and a crashed UFO found in 1953, which confirms that this is also real. All right, let's see. Oh, the similar uh, markings, symbols. It's kind of like the Alpha Draconian, which is 3 stars. They're 3 stars, which is the beginning of the Draco star constellation. That's what their symbol is. It's also the same symbol that Dr. Greer has on his shirt. That's because he's part reptilian, evil. And that's why he's been lying. But this is when I started connecting UFOs. And this was very early, 5/20/18. That was right before I started to right before I realized the Nazi death marches and the deep underground military bases were identical. This is a very important case. Is Captain Orlando, he was a military captain for the Brazilian army who was sent out to Colares, Brazil, where there was major UFOs happening in 1977. And he went down there and he was recording it for a few weeks. He was recording these UFOs coming in, attacking people, taking their blood samples, doing all kinds of stuff. And he was describing in an interview in 1997, 30 years after the event, what had happened to him and the ship that he saw. He said the ship was making a air conditioner like sound, and that it also made a ratchet like sound as it moved up through the gravity fields. And I was like, I know exactly. I've seen that ship, and they killed him for that. They suicided him a few months after this interview. They killed him to shut him up. But somebody saw the same craft in North Carolina in 2011, and it's called Operation Saucer. You can look it up on my website or type this in X, the X account search, Operation Saucer, to see an actual craft. And it's not only the sounds that it makes, but it's also the lighting that's actually directly connected to the consciousness. You can see it. It's like a dull light, and there's 2 guys moving in on it, recording it, standing there, and it gets threatened. So the light starts brightening, and then it backs off. So it's pretty wild stuff. All the movies related to what's actually going on here. Saturn's Ringmakers of Saturn. Yeah, there's a alleged craft in the ring. And well, this is also in a video game called Destiny 2. The ships that we're seeing and the game Destiny, they're eerily similar. This is where Quetzalcoatl and the reptilians have been eating people, sacrificing. That's why they were sacrificing people, and they were teaching people the blood sacrifice to drink the blood to get high, to worship the gods. That's what they called them. This was in the Codex Gigas, which is a holy book that a monk wrote allegedly in one night, and he drew the exact demon of the devil, the devil actually looked like. Yeah, he's reptilian. The sacrificial stones and the slaughter stone. This is very significant because that all has to do with all the child sacrifice and all the sacrifices. Why were they doing this? Well, these gods were showing up demanding sacrifices so they could drink the blood to get high, a spiritual high. And this is why they're all connected, all these sacrificial slabs everywhere, all connected to Orion or Draco, and what they were actually doing, which was collecting the blood to drink it to get high, spiritual high, adrenochrome, which has a U.S. patent. the pineal gland being calcified by fluoride. Everyone will know the reality soon, and unfortunately, it's just not something to laugh at. It's pretty unnerving with some bad news. Yeah, they've been eating us this whole time. Some good news, which is, well, truth and freedom. And with that in mind, all we can do is deal with it honestly and openly. Yeah, we have to deal with this truthfully. What's going on here? Why is this happening? Why have we been suppressed? Why have we been lied to this whole fucking time? While we've secretly been being ruled over by an evil group of aliens, we're actually in the middle of a dark forest, okay? A dark forest. And these rulers with all the money have been working with the evil groups, allowing them to use us as a slave source and fatten us up and do all this evil shit to us and rape children and eat children and do all this satanic nightmare shit. You see, all these things are massive. They're like 4 feet by 3 feet. They're big, and they were having sex with women and men, the aliens. So it's the same. It's with the fallen angels, the Nephilim. Yeah, another sacrifice. Multiple different species. Oh, where they're drinking the blood out of containers with straws? More sacrifice. This is a very important symbol to the aliens. Straws to drink the blood. What's been going on below our feet, which is actually, yep, hell is real. Hell is real on three different levels. The first hell is a psychological hell, being nasty, evil, and a nightmarish person to others and hating yourself and others. That's hell. But there is a physical hell underground, especially in these in the caves and in deep underground military bases where these aliens have been living down there, ripping people apart and eating them. Yeah, they've been eating us in hell underground. Now, there's also a spiritual hell, which is hell itself in the fifth density. It's a spiritual prison, technologically, a fifth dimensional technological prison controlled by Draco. And the deal is that God and Christ go through the soul, which the soul is a karmic recording device. So every action, every moment that we experience is recorded by the soul, so that when we die, which there is no death in reality, there's no death. So when you die, you go up to this fifth dimensional reality above the earth, and your soul goes into the book of life in front of Jesus. And Jesus goes through the soul, through the recording, and can pull out every single thing that you did good or bad, and you will be judged. It's true. And all I can tell you about that is live your lives with integrity, with honesty, with understanding. Be aware of this situation. Um, be compassionate to yourself and compassionate to others. Um, do not deceive. Do not live your lives with greed, anger, or delusion, the three poisons. Follow the golden rule, seeing yourself and others. Tell your family and your friends that you love them every day, as much as you can. It's important. And that is the key to life. Live your lives in integrity. That whole thing that I just said, that's the key to life and the whole point of our lives that we should be living in accordance to. Not how much money we can get, how many people we can fuck over to make money, not how many cars we can get, not how many materialistic possessions we can get. It all doesn't matter in the quote unquote end, which there is no end. It just we go up and we are judged, and once we're judged, we're either placed into heaven, hell, or reincarnated. except because this is the final judgment, there is no reincarnation, not until the latter day after night first, which is about 8 years from now. But yeah, that's what they've been doing. They've been eating us underground, okay, and ripping us apart in many dimensions, in the four dimensions that we exist in the physical, and in the fifth dimension with the souls being ripped apart by demons and the devil. Demons are the extraterrestrials. The devil is an alpha draconian from Draco. He is a fifth dimensional entity who rules over hell and on Earth. But that's where all these, cattle mutilations have been going, and what's been going on here. And they were told in Space Force what was going on. Adrenochrome. And I'm pretty sure that the dinosaurs were adrenochrome harvested because they fell in place. I think it was when the Anunnaki brought the moon into orbit and it changed the gravity on Earth and it pushed all of the big dinosaurs down flat. And I think that the moon also has a lot to do with reproduction and the menstrual cycle, as well as the movement of the ocean and seasons and all of that working in tandem with each other. It's extremely super intelligent dynamics. The whole satanic thing. Yeah, Rothschild, Pizzagate, why they targeted Comet Ping Pong with WikiLeaks revealing Pizzagate, which led us right to James Elefantis, it's James Elefantis, I Love Infants, who is the owner and proprietor of Buck's Camping, Fishing and Camping, which is a restaurant right next to Comet Ping Pong. He owns both of them. Buck, Buck Buck is the devil. Yeah, that's his other name. Buck. 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 That's why it's Buck's Camping and Fishing. Missing 411, where all the people keep going missing in the national forests. Yeah, why Tom Hanks loves to collect all these lost clothing items, pictures of lost clothing items he sees around. Yeah, it's because people have been being taken by the fucking aliens to be eaten. It's a ha ha. And what's the other name for Satan? Jimmy? There's something else out there. Hold on, let me think. I can't remember the other name they call him. But anyway, he James Elefantis is actually a D Rothschild. He's the French Rothschilds, and there he is, 5 people away from Lord Jacob Rothschild, who is known as the Pinder or the Pinnacle of the Draco, or Penis of the Dragon. He's uh, the patriarch who's been in control of the world, taking orders from the all-seeing eye, who is Draco. Now, in James Elefantis Pizzeria is an alien good playing Comet ping pong with evil, because it's a back and forth balance between good and evil. Um, War. And this is what is drawn in Comet ping pong on the wall. Half reptilian, half human versus the good aliens. And oh boy. So Satan's army it's not Satan, it's Lucifer. Lucifer is actually good. They inverted the meaning in both of these images. This is a picture called The Flight of Moloch, but that's not Moloch, it's the Great Red Dragon from above, seeing the smoke, where it's been Rothschild feeding Moloch children. Okay, that's the house that's burning. That's why they call him Mr. Burns. And it's not Satan, it's actually Lucifer who's been going after Marina Abramovich and James um, Jacob Rothschild. It's inversion of the truth to fool the people so that when Lucifer showed up, guess what? The Satan worshippers fucking hate him for revealing the truth, and the good people would think that he's evil when he's not. Because they believed whatever, because they couldn't use their hearts to see the truth. But that's why they inverted the meaning. That's why they inverted it to be Satan's army, and that's why they call this the flight of Moloch, which it's not Moloch. It's actually the great red dragon who has the view from above. The view from above, yeah, I could see what they were doing. The smoke. They were feeding aliens children. I could see from above. Just like they've been. Now, how did they know this 200 years ago? Just like they've been feeding the aliens children. Okay, how did they know hundreds of years ago? Well, quantum temporal time viewing devices. And it's not only that, but people in the astro traveling reality in the fifth density have the ability to travel to see through the future, through time, because there's fifth dimensional technologies like the Orion cube, which is a quantum temporal time viewing device. But there's a lot of information here. Many governments of the world feed the eye, which is very important. That's the House of Saud, that's Saudi Arabia, Rothschild, and Soros, the three. Okay, many governments of the world feed the eye, the all-seeing eye, which is Draco, Alpha Draconian, and the Orion group is the eye, the all-seeing eye. Okay, and this is another one from Trump. Perhaps Trump could not stomach the thought of mass murder occurring to satisfy Moloch. Yeah, they've been feeding the aliens people, okay, this whole fucking time. But, I figured this whole thing out a long time ago. No one believed me. So, a whole bunch of evidence with Hitler and the Rothschilds and how Epstein was involved with them. And let's see, what else do I got here? There's Epstein, there's Rothschild. It's all these super elite people, and it's not just these people. There are many people. There's Peter Thiel, there's Sam Altman, there's a whole bunch of these super rich billionaires who want to try to kill off everybody to keep the technology and knowledge so they could live eternal. And the end of the timeline, the universal timeline, is either 52,000 years from now or 45,000 years from now. I know it sounds like a lot to you, but for these people, they can live that long. Cloning technology and conscious transferal soul transferal technology. And that end date, 45,000 years or 52,000 years, those are two timelines that were approaching a paradox in 2030. But that's when the universe ends through a galactic war, an intergalactic war, when the galaxy and the universe go to war with itself, good and evil, and destroy them, then destroy the entire universe. At which point, someone has to go back to before the universe began. That's why these people are so open about, killing children and eating pizza and hanging out with all their satanic friends. They love this shit. And it's because they were allowed to exist, which is okay. But now that we know what's going on, that's why he named it Comet Ping Pong, was because it's an evil star, disaster, that keeps showing up to harvest everybody. They're half reptilian, half human. Another interesting thing I noticed is that the good always face towards in the photos. The evil always faces at the picture, at the photograph. Very interesting between the balance. They work together. I'm pretty sure that this is Luna, God, Mona Lisa, Hathor, the Lady Diana. I'm pretty sure. I think we're about to find out pretty soon, honestly. The Rothschilds, there's Buck's restaurant. The balance, this is good. This is the Freemasons' compass and square, a gift from God. The Anunnaki, the little cherubs, and then the star that's upright. That's a positive star. The inverted star is satanic. So the fact that she has that on her belt, tells me that the Queen of England was good. Yeah, you see, that's why they have this handshakes. The handshakes tell them which side of the balance they're on, good or evil. But they work together, and they have been working together this whole time because they both exist. This is why it's been going on this whole time, forever. Um, in secret, of course, because they couldn't tell everybody, hey, these people are Satan worshipers. They fucking eat children, and they exist, and uh, we can't tell them no, because we've been secretly ruled over by Satan. And yeah, there's just a whole bunch of stuff in here with the evil going on, and um, the balance. The reptilians using us, poisoning us with everything. The truth about Lucifer versus Satan. In the last days, good will be called evil, and evil called good. This is why the Freemasons have been trying to provoke a nuclear war with Israel, and it's very complicated. With the Zionist state of Israel, and the Muslims. Except time changes, timelines change. This is why the U.S. Because what happened was Netanyahu surrendered to the good side of the balance. It's very complicated because it's not just one evil side. There are many different beings on the evil specter. The Zionists worship Moloch. The Satan worshippers worship Draco. The two snakes that wrap around the staff, or the caduceus, the medical insignia. That's why there's two snakes. They're two evils. Okay, one's a demon, the other's the devil. So because they're Zionists, they worship Moloch, the demon, and they've all been exposed with the Orion lines. Netanyahu, who is a Zionist ruling over the Jews in Israel, reconciled with the Genesis. In the book of Genesis, it says, God says, if those who help Israel, protect Israel, you'll have God's protection of Israel if you repent. And that's why the U.S. Trump has been protecting Israel. See how this works? It's not as simple as you think, or what people think. It's not. There's many different facets to going on here, and it's been very secret. And you have to be sitting here paying attention this whole time to figure out what the fuck is going on. The true light manifestation of the pure doctrine of Lucifer brought finally out into the public. So eventually, my book is going to be released. And how did they know? They had time travel. They knew someone was coming with the light. It's not a false light. It's truth. It's evidence. Moloch's been bad. Moloch's been harvesting human beings. The Satan worshippers have been worshiping them, helping them, because they're part reptilian. They've been drinking the blood, using us as a food source. That's why Zelensky made Marina Abramovich the ambassador of Ukraine, just like the Azov Battalion with the Black Suns. That's what all these people are. They're Black Suns. Uncle Sam's Snuff Factory. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's pretty self-explanatory. Once you get to this part, I really don't want to show this on my. It's all about eating people and children and all that. I really don't want to show that in my YouTube, not to get my YouTube channel taken away. But this is at Bohemian Grove. Why is there a gigantic Buddha statue? Good and evil exist. It's just that it's not what you think it is, and the whole Catholic Church is evil. God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit are good, and these people used it to control people, to lie to them about everything. But not only that, they've been doing this whole they have these red shoes which are actually made from baby skin, and they paint them red to walk on their enemy, humanity, because they're part reptilian. And that's why the rest of these awesome people with all their money have been walking around on baby skin shoes. Okay. Evil. So, this is why all of these sacrificial tables, the exact size for a human being, are in every single church. They're not altars to, like, do communion. No, at night they do the whole satanic thing. And there was Fiona Barlett who said that she witnessed many times of them sacrificing a human being on the table at night in an Australian church that she was a part of. And it's not only that, because it's the night first deal that they made with the evil side, night first. And this is why they have a pope carrying the black rock, like as in Genesis, the black rock, or the black suns, or the black rock under the bottom of the flat earth that comes up. And it also is the black rock, the elite group, and why the pope is carrying the black rock, which is carrying evil through a pool of blood. What does that have to do with Christ's love and being kind to? Well, that's because it's night first. The secret handshakes that they do to tell each other who's good and who's evil. Hillary Clinton with this woman who is one of the worst of them, and them coveting the children. Yeah, they're reptilians. They've been eating us. The solar flare that happened in 2018, that they didn't warn us about, but it was leaked by the Navy. And when I got a hold of it, I was like, holy shit. And I went out to um, the sun, and I could feel it with my hand. I could feel it on my face. I could feel it in the hand. At the bottom of the sun, there was a massive heat, and I could see it. It was there as a solar flare that they didn't warn us about. And it lasted for about a week. And they shut down all the observatories, all the solar observatories. They even blamed some other dude, a janitor, because the FBI showed up there and took over one of these observatories, and blamed it on, oh, we went there to arrest a janitor who was looking at child pornography, which was all bullshit. They tried to get in there to stop them from sending out imagery of the solar flare they were fucking covering up. They even shut down the Hubble telescope, is taking a nap. In safe mode, taking a nap. Oh, yeah. And then all of a sudden, these weather uh, hurricanes suddenly appeared perfectly over all of these places to block the solar flare. So a direct energy weapon. That's when I got arrested. Well, I was kicked out because I went down to the Air Force, the National Guard, and I complained that about the solar flare that was gonna fucking that they didn't warn us about. Saturn's moon Titan. Look at the blue. Look at the cloud cover. Look at the land. What are they hiding? It's an Earth-like planet. Saturn's moon Titan. Mhm. Another image. It's a also there's lines on Venus, probably from mining. If this is Venus, I've heard Venus is a normal planet just like Earth. And here's some evidence to that. That's how did a parachute survive 864 degrees air? That's what they claim. And it was made out of polyester nylon, the parachute of Veneria and Vega, which was 1970s. And when they allegedly landed on Venus, 864 degrees. Well, the melting temperature of polyester is 490 degrees and nylon is 496 degrees. So how did a parachute survive 860 for 300? Oh, yeah, 400 degrees hotter. It didn't because they lied. Because Venus is probably a normal, regular planet. Oh, here's one with the atmosphere from Earth extending way past the moon. And I've heard stories that you can breathe on the moon. It's just like being on a high peak of a high mountain. Well, you can breathe on the moon. This is the image that I was talking about with the opening in the bottom of the earth, and how I could see if I'm very still, or you're very still, you can see the clouds moving, slowly moving, because we're alive, and the planet and the stars and everything is alive. And if you're very still, you can see it alive and moving. It's the life force that we're all part of. Now, is there a center sun in the middle of the Earth and a place inside? Well, it's possible the Earth is hollow, possibly. I don't know. I know that the moon is hollow, but is the Earth? Maybe. I mean, especially with a hole in it like this, I don't know. All the things we've been lied to. Russia suggests sabotage of the International Space Station. Yeah, they drilled a hole in the fuselage. I mean, you could see the drill skippage of the drill, uh, markings. So I guess they thought that by drilling a hole, it would cause the space station to implode and crush everybody. And that didn't happen. I don't know. Oh, there he is, this guy. I mean, it's process of elimination. Did the Russian do it? Did the German do it? Did the woman do it? No. Okay, who's back here? Okay, he's the captain. And then you have this guy who has been seen with doing the Hail Satan symbol with his hands, the two horns. So I put the fucking drill right in his hands. It's got to be him. Process of elimination. Nobody did anything about it. Lou Elizondo said it was politics. But I know what politics is. It's good and evil. This is the lizard people coming out of the ground. The when the military took over Area 51 from the CIA in December of 2007, this is what leaked out, and I was like, "Holy shit, really? No way." Well, um, 12 days later, the tetrahedron all-seeing eye showed up over the Pentagon, which told me that this information was true. because they showed up. Why did they show up like that in the middle of the morning, 4:30 in the morning for half an hour, exposing themselves just like they did to the Kremlin? They were there because they were pissed. They were so angry that they showed up. Why the fuck did they stop the alien invasion that they were planning? And then the Russians were allowed to fly over Area 51 for the first time, March 29th, to find out if, in fact, the reptilians were kicked out. The Bilderberg Group meeting, populist uprising, post-truth world. That's when the people find out that they've been fucking trading us for technology. The weaponization of social media. Well, since I was the only one out there using the evidence, the truth as a weapon, um, it was probably me. I mean, I was taking all the evidence and I was attacking them with the truth. Every single NASA, the military, everything I could possibly think of. All these people who were part of the UFO disclosure, I was attacking them with all the evidence of the aliens and the X-rays and everything. And I did that for about 2 or 3 years until I was like, okay, let me turn my attention to people who are talking about this. And I did that for a few years, but nobody fucking believed me. Here's the evidence of the earthquakes happening in 2020, 2019. That's when it started, but 2020, well, primarily most of the points, most of where the deep underground military bases are. And then there's even more earthquakes happening. Yeah, I know earthquakes happen, but for them to be specifically at these targets after they came out and started talking about how aliens are real, it's just okay. Let's see here. Oh, the whole Orion thing with solar winds. That's the company. There was something about um software. Yeah, Dominion voting machines. Orion to help Biden get into office to cheat. Whole bunch of Q stuff, satanic artwork with the grays, the black eyes, the grays, and the reptilian, who is the all-seeing eye with the reptilian eye, eating pizza. The children, see how this works? But it's all here. That's from iPetGo 2 with Lucifer dying from all the evil on his mind. And then there's Rothschild with the gray, the one black gray eye, and the other gray eye is reptilian. And then there's Saturn's ring in his ear, watching Lucifer suffer and die because he had the truth, but they couldn't. No one believed him, and no one would acknowledge the evidence. All these Satan worshipers, they're all a part of Chris Bledsoe hanging out with Kesha, who did the song Cannibal. And then there's Sammy Hagar, who's part of the satanic group with Guy Fieri, who did the Comet ping pong review. And I've seen other kids who follow him around who worship Satan. Love this guy. And there he is with Maynard Keenan, who did the whole Pucifer thing and the well, all the aliens and dancing on stage with aliens. It's all to make fun of us for being ignorant and stupid while the evil aliens have been eating us. But he has he has a pizzeria and a grapevinery in Arizona and a pizzeria with on his bus he has the pizza over the painting of man by what's his name? God, he was a Italian. famous Italian scientist. Did the painting of man, but anyway, there's Chris Bledsoe with Margaret Robbie, who's an actress, and behind her is the statue of Chaos, who I'm pretty sure is Moloch, and then there's Pucifer with the same Chaos, and then Chris Bledsoe's son with as Odin with his rock band Twice Born with the Caduceus, the two snakes going after the pineal gland, the human being. Another inversion technique with the Omega symbol in his to fool people, but Omega is good. And it's inversion technique with the Satan where they do that all the time. All the people, all the satanic witches in the world, they know it's time to wake up and start attacking. It's very close now that the truth is revealed, and these people will reveal will or their hands will be untied, and then they'll get to kill everybody off. That's what they're going for. Pretty fucked up shit, right? How about this one? How about the blood of the dragon with the tail wrapped around his neck? Because they knew that Lucifer would suffer hard for this. So they were like, ah, just let him die. Let him die with that, the great red dragon. Oh, come on, you kidding me? Great red dragon with a tail wrapped around his neck. The blood of the dragon. How merciful the night, like night first. Let there be night. These are all the secret society um sayings. There are many different groups, but here's the Bilderberg group in the shape of Orion, the star constellation Orion. Okay, if things aren't clear to you, so they've been taking all these scientists who've been working on this super important UFO technology stuff and killing them off. Yep, because so they don't want them to talk to tell the truth, but they're working on trying to kill us off by setting us up for a nuclear war. And in order to provoke that, they're building the artificial superintelligence. And there's two different timelines. There's the P-52 Orions and the P-45 Zeta Reticuli, which are both the Orion star constellation and Zeta Reticuli star constellation are both on the deep underground military base map. This is a map from Area 51 S4-2 Level 2 with the Project Orion and a 3 foot tall stuffed rabbit with Alice in Wonderland stuffed rabbit that sits on top of above the door. And then there's a jump gates where they do the jumping, the beam me up, Scotty transporters. And then there's the timeline shift, the paradox that's coming up. Now, it's a little confusing because the bad guys come from Orion. I know that for sure. But Dan Burge said that the P-52, the P-45s are the bad guys, which doesn't make any sense because I know that Orion is evil. So why are they the P-52s? So there's a discrepancy here, and I don't know yet because I'm not close enough to see it. But I know that timeline one is the good timeline, which is 82%, no nuclear war. But the timeline too is a nuclear war, which they're trying to provoke the Illuminati, because that's where the Greys come from. But I don't think it's the 45s. I think it's the 52s, because it's Orion. It's a very, lots of inversion, lots of lies. Until I find more evidence to figure it out, then I would know. But that's what's going on here. So they admit that they've been using AI to predict future many times. 2021. The shift, there's a decision point, October 1st, 2030. To nuke or not to nuke? That's the question. They'll say base, where they've been experimenting, cloning people and doing all this cloning stuff. This is a drawing of a enzyme collected. It's a blood with body parts and bloods, and this is what they've been eating. Pretty fucked up, right? The Looking Glass, the Orion Cube. This is all they've been using it to control humanity. And then there's the Red Cube, which is a prison, a soul prison for humanity, a Saturn's prison. Yes, there are demons that actually induce night terrors and do that kind of stuff. Spiritual demons. It's real. A whole bunch of writings, and then I got into more stuff. And then there's AIDS, HIV was created as a bioweapon. The cure to AIDS, HIV, is cucumber trichosynthesis carollali. It grows in China, and I believe it. I mean, there's been Q of disease created by families in power, population control, and then there's a list of these U.S. patented bioweapons, and they've been doing it because there's too many people on the planet, which is true. There's too many people, and they're polluting and taking, burning through the resources like nobody's business. If we let this keep going, it will cascade into, the death of Earth. But there's also these people have been poisoned by these evil people to be evil, to do evil. And they wanted that to happen to make them applicable to go to hell. Because hell is real. And when you die and you're judged, yeah, there's either heaven, hell, or reincarnation. But since this is the last judgment, there's no reincarnation until after, when Jesus comes back in 8 years and his Christ consciousness is taken off his head, and the Catholic Church dies, and God destroys the Egyptian pyramids in Egypt, just as she did on Mars. There's evidence of that, with the Martian pyramids that are identical to the Giza pyramids destroyed. A whole bunch of stuff with Epstein and the World Health Organization, all this stuff, shrinking penises, and what I believe the COVID-19, that virus was, and the vaccines were to sterilize the population so we'd stop, reproducing. But it's also possible that it's a dual binary viral weapon by Rockefeller. And what happens is they put half of the virus into the vaccine, and then whenever they want, like 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, whenever they want, they'll release the other half of the virus in the water, and you drink the water, and it activates inside of you, and then a dual binary viral weapon. So now there's 72 injections happening. Yeah, it's all poison. It's all to poison the children, to block them from reaching the awakened state of mind, which is the true self nature, the ultimate reality. It's to blind us so we can't awaken. They've been poisoning us to keep us from reaching the awakened state of mind intentionally. That's why they've been spraying us this whole fucking time, using cell phone towers to block our energy, that we absorb energy, the earth energy, the ether, uh, the dharma, the monad, the life force that surrounds us. We can absorb that. That's what Zen is to absorb. But it's also, we can send out signals as well. And these fucking monsters have been building this stuff to block that stuff. Wi-Fi, cell towers, all this stuff. Computers, the blue screen, it induces sleep. Yeah, computers, televisions, even when you turn it off, it's still sending out a signal. And it's all there, it's all patented and all this crazy shit. It just goes on and on and on. They've been poisoning us. They've been trying to kill us off. Okay. Too many people. Um, the truth being revealed. Well, that's the big one for them. They call it climate change. Yeah, the climate change is us waking up to the reality of what they've been fucking doing. I explained what that was with Building 7 and the Pentagon, and it was to hide the receipts leading to the deep underground military bases. I know these are real images because no movie would allow the United States military to mock up a missile like this and use planes and do that kind of stuff and then block out their eyes. That's probably what hit the Pentagon. The FEMA camps were all, it's the same thing. They did the same thing in Nazi Germany with the Nazi death camps. Those death camp, that's what the FEMA camps really are. Trying to start a war with China. Yeah, that's what they've been doing. They've been preparing China to, for the past 30 years with cheap labor, all the money and buying products from China goes right into the military's pocket. This is how their military is like millions and millions of people and very, very powerful, very strong. But it took them a long time, and that's because behind China has been the Illuminati working them. And but they wanted to use China to provoke a nuclear war, and there's Marina Abramovich, the satanic witch, with all these Chinese kids, all these Chinese kids, all these Chinese kids. What's she doing? Obviously, it's the Illuminati who's been behind putting guns in these children's hands. And there are tons of videos out there of children this age, like 6, 7 years old, running around with machine guns, practicing on killing people, doing military exercise, uh, in suburban type settings as children, and sleepers in America, satanic, evil. See, they've been teaching kids how to shoot, how to kill. Then you have No Kings, another Jeffrey Epstein, another billionaire asshole, Sam Altman, these fucking people. The No Kings, he's been dumping money from China. He's been dumping money into the No Kings. Why is it No Kings? Well, it's because somebody is about to become king of Earth, and they want to try to invert it and make people hate Lucifer when he shows up with the book of the truth. Canada flipped, turned to China instead, and the New World Order, which is what they've been wanting to do. With the New World Order, they want to track everyone and everything. And this is why China released the COVID virus in the first place. It was to cheat to get Biden into office and get everybody inside, and then everybody was given, voting, mail-in ballots to cheat, and they did, and they cheated and got Biden into office doing it that way. But they also had a second um, thing come out of that, which was getting everybody vaxxed up to sterilize them. That's what they did. That was after Obama and Fauci gave Wuhan lab $3.8 million to research. And this was in Wuhan at that time when it came out. Evil. Evil fucking people. Melinda Gates wearing a mask. Hold on a minute. 1111, angel number. Melinda Gates wearing a mask, helping people stop the spread of COVID-19. Church of Satan. Oh, yes, please wear a mask. This way we can lower immune systems of the sheep. Then a few months later, we can release the real virus to get rid of them. The age of darkness is upon us. Praise you for all you do. Thanks, Church of Satan. Agenda 30, 2030. Yeah, it's the satanic UN agenda, which is to provoke a nuclear war, and which will proliferate into global nuclear war, which will give them the future, get rid of everybody, and give these evil satanic elites the future that they hope for. That's why they're really working hard on the artificial superintelligence. But that's what it is. And that's why China's really buying up land, farmland, and bringing people in. And so this was the Bilderberg Group meeting in 2026. It was about a month ago. Had everybody going there, and then the next, after it was done, they um, China was this all the members. China enters the war. It happens all the time with these stupid fucking people. I don't know how they all meet together, and then when they get out, something happens, and it's like, what the fuck, are you stupid? What? And there's China putting out, barbed wire outside of their embassy. Many of 300, some of the bloodlines, and they've been poisoning us this whole time with the 5G, 6G, and trying to get us all implanted with chips, which is very interesting because why would they get us implanted with chips when they've been planning on this nuclear war to wipe us all out in 2030? A money grab. Money grab before they provoke the nuclear war. It's disgusting. Only a group of psychopaths. Oh, here come the AI, the artificial CGI, and why they've been dumping the shit out of all the money into building these things. Yeah, it's to trick the people, as you've noticed, with all the CGI, all the bullshit AI stuff out there. That's to twist the truth, fool the people further, so that when the truth comes out, they can go, oh, that's all just CGI. Or they can also make something I call phantom blackmail. Phantom blackmail is when you take a good person and you destroy them with artificial superintelligence CGI, which is near perfect, and you can't tell the difference between what's real and what's not real, and then that will lead to hating a good person who is true of heart. That's what they want to do. That's why they've been dumping money into the artificial superintelligence. You are here. Yes, we're in Idiocracy, and we're on the verge of Terminator, and The Matrix. Yeah, they want to do The Matrix in order to um, harvest us, to induce nightmares. But it's Google. Yeah, Google is Illuminati. It's evil. Evil fucking people in Palantir. What is Palantir? Palantir is named after the crystal ball. Yeah, they've been using time viewing devices and artificial intelligence to see into the future. That's why the military's been using them, because they can look into the future and know what's coming. Peter Thiel, Sam Altman have a romantic getaway. Jack 2030 and 2020. Yeah, let's make it the Roaring Twenties again, because the elite knew that the end was coming in 2030 for humanity. My protests in Times Square, because this is a time war. I knew time war, and in front of the armed forces recruiting station, and the whole connection of the Nazca alien mummies to King Akhenaten and them being cherubs. That was 2019 when I was able to walk. The whole thing, me having all this stuff and being ready back then to go to war, to fight for freedom of humanity, after 7 years of being ignored, it destroyed me. That's why I got fat and destroyed and heartbroken, because no one believed me, and they were at war. They were playing golf. That's why I went to the New York Times, like Times Square, Time War, with the mutilations. That's when I was sitting near the World Trade Center. Um, when I went to the Bull with Uncle Sam's Sun Factory that was in Manhattan, where they've been raping and eating children and forcing children to have sex with each other, and then forcing the child to murder the other child, film it, and then sell it on the black web. That was from Katie Groves, and I believe it after everything that I've seen with these sick, evil fucks in front of the White House, with the evidence, with the Nazi death marches and the deep underground military bases. December 2019, at the Lincoln Memorial, when I was doing protests at the Pentagon with the Rothschild group connected to James Elefantis, D. Rothschild, and Comet Ping Pong, where they've been at war with each other. The mutilations, the deep underground military, where they've been feeding human beings to the aliens in trade for technology. Yeah, I was there in front of Comet Ping Pong too, in front of Kennedy Space Center in Florida when I was down there, in front of Trump Tower. And then I got so depressed that I started eating. Well, I was homeless, and I didn't have a kitchen, and so I was just like, ah, fuck it, I'll just order out all the time. And the next thing I fucking knew, it wasn't good, and I've been suffering from it for quite some time now. But I blew up the entire map by 12 feet by 6 feet, and the Capitol building at Washington, D.C. is right here. That's the Capitol lawn, protesting. Something I saw in the fifth density with the beginning of the um, universe. I can actually show you something real quick here. Let me see if I can find it. Okay, here we go. So this is what I saw on the fifth density. It's the beginning of the universe. So imagine, well, before the universe began, imagine a completely all blackness, all darkness. Ignore Deep Space Nine. I just used it because of the what's going to happen. So imagine blackness, no stars, no light, nothing. And then all of a sudden, a wormhole opens. And out of that wormhole, energy comes out because it's the end of a black hole. The end of a black hole opens and energy pours out, creating a ball. And in that ball gets so big that it explodes, creating the big bang, which creates space and time in our universe. That's how the universe began. And I was shown that in the fifth density. When they pulled me up in December of 2018, when I figured out everything, they're like, okay, let me show you what's going on here. That's what they did. That's how I figured out the whole Jesus and how they were reviewing souls and doing all that stuff. But that's how the universe began, even before the universe. And and there was the multiverse, which looked like a pit of balls, universes sitting together in an ocean, like in a hallway of universes, and they were some of them were expanding and collapsing. There was even when I saw something I call the plague, which was a group of beings who were devouring a universe and jumping to the next universe, sitting next to it. But it was far off in the distance, but it was pretty incredible when I saw it. And then they showed me that the multiverse exists inside of the Vetroverse, which looked exactly alike the 3D model of the Tree of Life. That's what they showed me. The star alignment that happened September 23rd. That's when I found out. That's when I realized that they had time travel. And when I found the evidence that the Anunnaki helped St. John write Revelations because they showed him the future, and how they gave Ben Franklin electricity to help humanity. The Great Red Dragon, by William Blake, who saw the star alignment and realized they had time travel. And the Great Red Dragon is actually good. They inverted it. The Holy Catholic Church, who is evil, who've been raping children this whole time, who've been taking everybody's donations and giving it to Rothschild, who is the banking corporation since 1823. So all the money's going to the Catholic Church has been going right into Rothschild's pocket, the pinnacle of the Draco, half reptilian, half human. The patriarch, who is the all-seeing eye, orders to do the work on Earth, Jacob Rothschild. But it's only that they built their church in the shape of a snakehead, the right next to the Vatican, and there's teeth, there's eyes, there's scales in the building itself. But the main purpose was to have the people sit in the mouth of the snake, waiting to be swallowed. So the Catholic Church is evil. But the real red dragon was drawn by William Blake. This was 200 years ago. And this was the red dragon that I based myself on. When I saw the star alignment, I became the great red dragon, and from this picture, this was the one that I chose to be, because it was a strong man over evil, holding the sword of delusion and the scepter of suffering, Rothschild and all of his friends. That's the picture that I based my red dragon off of. Little did I know that I was actually right. Lucifer dying, reaching for God. hmm The great red dragon, Lucifer. Good, not evil. Even lied to. Sorry. Homer Simpson? Yeah, look familiar. I wonder where they got that idea, the Freemasons. See, dough. Oh, more writings. Also, Lucifer is Metatron. Metatron, the revealer of the truth. Uh, Sue Storm, the invisible woman with the heart, true heartedness. So, anyway, that's pretty much it. I'm a Zen Buddhist monk, and right there, when I was sitting there, these translucent beings came to me, and they lifted up my head while I was sitting, and I looked down. I opened my eyes. I looked down. I could see black eyes and a translucent being in front of me, and all of a sudden, a second one appeared to the right of the first one, holding a rod with a quarter collar at the end of it with writing inside the quarter collar, and it pressed it up against my neck um, for about 3 seconds, and then it pulled away. It stepped behind, a step back, and disappeared. And then the first being dropped my head, lowered my head, stepped backwards, and turned right and disappeared. And I was like, "What the fuck was that?" Aliens are real. And I went home and I started researching this whole fucking thing. And 11 days later, the Nazca alien mummies were released on Gaia TV. And I knew they were real because of the x-rays. You can't fake nature. So I knew they were real. And that's when it all started. And then a week after that, I connected them to King Akhenaten and Queen Nefertiti. Those weren't his children. Those were actually God's angels, the cherubs. They came to me to trigger me to reveal the truth, and that's what they did. And they knew that the Nazca alien mummies were going to be released 11 days after they woke me up, after they got my attention. Baba Vanga, a blind mystic, also saw these transparent beings that I saw. She was being shown future um things coming in the future. But she was also being shown. She also met with these transparent beings, and I've met with them as well. They're God's angels. God's angels. In the last days, good will be called evil, and evil called good. Yep, it's happening. But this is what it's all about. Life, living life with integrity, compassion for yourself, and compassion for others. Do not indulge in greed, anger, and delusion, the three poisons. True heartedness and light as a feather. That's the scale, the judgment. And everything's being recorded, your whole existence. Some silly art I made. Saturn's cube, which is Draco's vehicle, and Draco coming out of the vehicle. Lucifer being crucified on the symbol of the great red dragon. That's what that symbol means, the great red dragon. While the sun is coming up, because it's night first and its day is coming. So I knew I had to sacrifice myself for this, because when I saw the great star alignment, I knew the future. I knew what was coming. I knew that the Satan worshippers would do everything they possibly could to invert me and my name and use CGI to create phantom blackmail to distort the truth and destroy me. And so that people would hate me and think that I was the devil. That's why I made this one. Pretty fucked up, right? There's where the whole Christmas trees came from, Saturnalia. pictures you wouldn't understand, but maybe you would. What they've been worshiping on Epstein's Island was Moloch. Moloch travels around a tetrahedron-shaped craft. Satan is in a black cube. That's their vehicles. That's what their vehicles look like. What these evil elites did during night first was they took a bus over this, dropped it off of the side of the mountain, fucking us all up, poisoning us, trying to kill us off, making everybody hate each other, beating each other up, hating each other. So at the end, they're giving the keys over. Here you go. Good luck. But after all of is said and done, in about 8, 9 years, God will return. The Anunnaki, the leprechauns, that's what they are, leprechauns, with a pot of gold. The Anunnaki created human beings to mine gold for them until they were taken over by the Alpha Draconian and the Orion group 6,000 years ago. But I'm pretty sure that they've been at war for much, much, much longer than that. It's a war between good and evil, and it never ends. It all goes to the end of the timeline, at which point someone has to go back to the before it begins to do the whole thing over again. Pretty crazy shit, right? This is the true symbol of God. The Anunnaki are Aten you'll see it's one mind. No mind is mind, and then there's many arms, just like the Buddha statue with many arms, many hands. No mind is mind, and that's what they are. They're enlightened beings. I inverted the picture on the UN Emergency Security Council meeting mural because it's a picture of me killed with a sword in it, the dragon, and then the phoenix rising, which was going to be someone who I rejected because I'm not going to marry her because she's poison. They just want to kill me and take over. So I inverted it and I found someone else I fell in love with. Anyway, that's it for this, The Orion Lines. And this is a free book. You can go download it at TheOrionLines.com, the /book, or on the first website, the first page of my website, TheOrionLines.com. Under the first book, you can buy this book at Amazon. It's kind of expensive, but it's a cool book. I had to break it in half because there's just so many pages. Um, uh, so there's two parts. Um, This is just a small part of my research. Most of the research was collecting video evidence that was very important and putting it at my website. The website goes on and on and on and on, but I can assure you it's good evidence. I went through it over and over and over and over again to make sure that, this is important. This belongs on my website for people to know what's actually going on here with the truth, because they've been lying to us this whole time. Somebody had to tell the truth, and well, it was me. And well, that's the way it is. You can email if you would like to write me an email, that's fine. My email is Ryushin, RYUSHIN Malone, MALONE at gmail.com. Anything you want to talk about, whatever. I can go into greater detail with this information. If you'd like to leave a donation, I'd really be grateful because I've been doing all of this work on my own accord, trying to wake people up, fighting the government, fighting for the truth. And it was such a big deal that they had to slowly release this information and work the deep state into a corner position where they could actually tell the truth without, hurting people. And it's a war. It's a war. But there are donation links at the website, TheOrionLines.com. I have PayPal. I have Buy Me Coffee, Cash App, whatever, Zelle. I'm kind of like in a really bad situation actually at the moment. I had to leave the place I was staying at. The guy had major problems, and I had to leave, and I've been living in New Jersey. I'm looking for a place to stay or a vehicle like a truck. Um, uh, I'm also in desperate need of support, like with a computer, new computer. And basic stuff. And I can tell you this, the elites of the world are not even the elites, the rich, which is the lower than the super rich. It's the rich people who are preparing. They're preparing. They're buying water. They're buying food, long-term food. So if you have the storm is coming. Okay, and that storm is probably going to hit very, very soon this year, maybe even in the summer or fall. But it's coming, and we're like right on the edge of it. So it's very intimidating for me being in this position with nothing going, what the fuck am I going to do? And so if you can help me, please get in touch with me. Let me know. I'd really appreciate it right now. I'd really appreciate it. I hope this information is enlightening for you. It's truth. It's important to tell the truth. And my whole practice in life was, is this true? That's been my whole koan practice because I'm a Rinzai Zen Buddhist monk. I was born at a Buddhist monastery. My parents were both Buddhists, and my father was a great Zen master who taught Zen in maximum security correctional facilities as well as death row chaplaincies. And I learned a lot from him, how to be truthful with myself and others, and to be true of heart. And so this was important. And when I was activated by the aliens, when they came to me, I knew I knew I was special. I just didn't know until 37 years old. But I always knew and I was waiting for whatever it was, and this is what it was, revealing the truth of reality, of what's actually going on here. It's not good because these Satan worshipers are evil, and revealing the truth, it's not good because these people have been trying to kill us off this whole time, many times, many, many times. They tried in 2012, they tried again in 2021, which was Agenda 21, which was stopped in 2018. And then they tried again with the election in 2023, 2024, with Trump and Kamala Harris. Yes, that the whole political spectrum, right and left, is actually good and evil. Okay, that's what politics really is. It's good and evil fighting each other over with spiritual laws, having the people decide which direction, unbeknownst to them, which direction to go, good or evil. Luckily for us, Trump won, and the Pentagon snuck in the Galactic Federation to wipe out the Greys uh, in New Jersey. That was the New Jersey drone wars. That's why that happened. An invasion, alien invasion. Yeah, I've got like 3.5 hours of alien craft flying around in New Jersey, shooting at the ground with laser weapons. Yeah, I got that shit. Okay, so thank you so much for joining me. And also at my website, theorionlines.com, there are links to Telegram, which Telegram, I post everything that I find relevant all the time in my Telegram. There's two of them. There's one, my own personal Telegram for people to see what I'm saying, and then I have another one with an open chat. so you can discuss what what you want to do. The links are at theorionlines.com. Also, I'm live on X, YouTube, and Rumble, and please join me. I'd really appreciate commentary, people's suggestions, more information, whatever. It's information warfare, and this is the evidence. This is the information. Thank you for joining me, and be well. Have a wonderful weekend or week, and thank you so much for everything. Be well.